Welcome back, guys, to the SuperCoach Swordplay podcast for the round 4 review, round 5 preview. Jay again, as always, joined by my special co-host, SuperCoach with DR. How are you doing, mate?
Should I be honest, or should I just try to stay positive for this podcast? Look, that life-wise, awesome. Got the little fella running around, and life is really good. But SuperCoach-wise, absolutely in the dungeons, mate. Not happy whatsoever. But look, hopefully we'll be able to do something, mate. Hopefully we'll be able to do something.
And yourself, Spills, how are you doing, legend?
Not as bad as DR. Still got their head held up pretty high, and they've got the glass half full attitude. Looking at some really aggressive trades this week. Some might say they're brave, some might say they're stupid. I haven't decided yet, but we'll see how we go, mate. I'm looking forward to having a chat with you boys and the great man that is Shorty. Looking forward to it. Should be good.
Well, I guess to begin our banter, I do have to mention that we have a special guest on today's podcast. We got Shorty, SuperCoach, one of the original legends in the SuperCoach community. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. What's going on, fellas? Great to be here.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to having Shorty on as a semi-regular on this podcast. We'll definitely see how the crowd takes liking to your views, mate. I'm sure it'll be great as always.
Crossed.
But I guess without further ado, let's talk a bit about our rounds. So I guess I'll go first here. I got a 21-62, which I'm actually quite happy with, and it's sort of, if I had to give a headline for my week, it was definitely the Jordan, Nick, and Tim show. Jordan Dawson, Nick Dacos, and Tim English have resurrected the team. They've all put it together in a week. 150s from each of them is like, it does feel kind of good. Especially traded out. Oh, Tim English got 145. Traded out Sean Darcy for Tim English last week, which on the Saturday, mind you, before losing reception. So it was an impulse move, but even he gained 20 points on him, and Darcy scored 125. So I'm pretty happy with that. What about yourself, DR? We'll go to you first.
Yeah, get the worst one out of the way. get this bloke out of the way. Get on to the real voice. Mate, 2052, season rank 62k, if you don't mind. Actually went down the ranks this week. There's literally nothing to like about my team apart from Dacos and Sheasel, and every bloke's got him. So, look, season's almost dead for me, I think, at this stage. So, bring on 2024, boys. The planning is starting now, and watch me just start good, start hot come 2024. But no, as I mentioned before, deep in the dungeons, mate. And my headline this week is a lost SuperCoach soul. I just need a virtual SuperCoach hug. I think I'm a lost soul. I don't know what to do at the moment. That dog without a lead. No, it's no good. It's no good. But I need to start getting positive. We've got the great man Shorty on the podcast with this week, so I'm getting up and about. No more negatives. Getting up and about this week, mate.
Love that from you, D. I think that's a great lesson for all the coaches that have been in the dumps at the moment, a bit in no man's land. There's still a long season to go. You never know with those buys how many spots you can make up. But about that, Spills, how are you going? How'd your week go? And what's your headline for this week?
Look, not as bad or dramatic as DR. As I said before, boys, glasses half full at the moment. Assuming I've got multiple glasses. I don't know why I said that. Lads, we scored 2,113. That is bang average, isn't it? Like, yeah, nothing to get too wrapped about, but yeah, it's stuck in the middle. So we're ranked 39k. We went up over 5,000 spots in the rank, now sitting at the top 22%. So, yeah, I think it's time to do some more aggressive moves to get us back into the competition. I don't want to be too generic because I'll probably just hold my rank, and we need to take some risks and fire away. But it just seems like we're all a bit doom and gloom here. So may I suggest something to you, Janath, being the host of this podcast at the moment, maybe before we get into Shorty's rank. Mate, have you got a story for us? That's what we love you for. We love your stories in your reviews. It's one of the main things I tune in for. Maybe one of the most highly anticipated things of my week is checking out the casual story from Shorty over his week. So what have you got for us this week, mate? I got high expectations.
Impromptu, but I'm sure, and I know that listeners will love to hear one. So go ahead, Shorty.
Yeah, no pressure there, boys. But no, I love a little casual story from time to time. Look, and I'll be happy to put this one out to you guys as well. But I was thinking about this, and I just wanted to discuss casually just being at the footy and the concept of leaving early. I don't know if you guys have had any of these stories, and not everyone is a leave early kind of guy, and fair enough, credit to you. But I was at a game the other day with some Brisbane supporters, that one against the Dogs, DR, and he decided to call it left early. 3 minutes, but you're walking out and you cop all sorts of stuff. We cop the old beat the rush, fellas, and then all sorts of things. I've walked out before and just literally been looked in the eye and told me to enjoy the train ride home. And one of the worst ones was I went up to Gold Coast early days. I don't think we'd lost to them yet. I'm a Cats supporter. And went up to Medricon, made the trip and everything. And that was the day, I don't know if you remember, when Harley Bennell kicked 6 and knocked the Cats off. I couldn't believe it. Me and my old man thought it'd just be a lovely little trip. We'd watch the Cats win. We'd get a bit of sun. And the young Suns destroyed us, mate. No, we were getting lipped by blokes that probably didn't know what AFL was 3 years ago. Walking out and they were telling us to catch the early flight home. So that was, man, swallowed my pride that day. And, yeah, so look, I mean, I'll be very interested to see if I do stay to the end more often than not now. I used to be a bit of a angry Geelong supporter, leave the ground a bit early if they weren't playing well. But any thoughts on that, boys?
Oh, well, speaking about
I've got a thought on that, Shorty.
I copped a bit on the way out. I got Brisbane are playing like Fitzroy. I had the Fitzroy gear on, mate. So
that's so good. That's a shocker.
And look, I may have given a little bit of lip back and just asked them to do a bit of a premiership count. Maybe try to multiply how many more premierships Fitzroy actually won. So, yeah, a bit of a dirty one there, Shorty. And quickly, and the other day as well, this is no jokes. My son reckons that he was on the bus, and as he got off the bus, someone actually yelled out, "Oh, DR's going terribly this year." So the son's confident for me. Like, you would not believe it. So,
that's great.
He's a little bit ashamed at the moment. So, a bit of a 2 meter backwards type thing when we're at the footy together at the moment. So,
it's affected the family, mate.
To that one.
I love that from you, Shorty. There's nothing. I'm a cheeky advocate for a bit of a sledge at the footy. Round 1. Yeah. Essendon versus Hawthorn at the G. It's about halfway through the third quarter. I stand up basically out of my seat and be like, the Glen Ferry line's going to be busy tonight, lads. Some rubbish like that. Better beat the traffic. It's a small tram.
Yeah, I'll beat the traffic. Good one.
Didn't I offend some nearby Hawthorn supporters? Gone with one of me mates, Pat. We love a bit of a lip at the footy. Some pretty established with themselves Bomber supporters who are currently sitting in the top 4 at the moment. How long is that going to last? Probably not long. So lap it up while we can.
That's it.
I guess I'll bookend this chat. It's not a Carlton related story, but do you guys remember when it was the Gold Coast Suns came to Marvel Stadium to play the Tigers, and Dimmer said that it's too far for the fans to travel. And the Suns have knocked off the Tigers in the last quarter. They get the na chant going. The opposition Tigers fans at Marvel Stadium. That was classic.
That's good.
The Gold Coast Suns fans in Melbourne, they've got the TikTok cheer squad going. So it's very interesting. But yeah, telling Tigers fans to go home early is a bit interesting, but I guess that's how the game changes from time to time.
Got to be passionate.
Footy is great.
I just don't want to go Flinders Street, do they?
It's too much far to travel Southern Cross. Yeah.
Don't want city loot. You want to take a cake and eat it, obviously.
Well, with that, Shorty, do you want to say how your week went and a bit of a headline from this week?
Yeah, mate. Scored 21.76, and I think headline probably anytime you move up in the ranks is a good week. So I mean, I'm happy with it. I was lucky enough to squeeze inside the top 6,000 at the moment, which is I'm stoked about. Like you guys were talking about before, it's such small margins in between the points and the rankings, so you can definitely make up quite a bit pretty quickly. But mate, I have that empathy for you, DR. I know it all too well when you're producing that content, like I was saying to you off recording before. So stick in there, mate. I'll be rooting for you, mate, because I know it is tough when you got to face the music and things aren't quite going to plan. I'll back you in, mate. You'll turn it around. You'll turn it around.
Oh, I appreciate it, legend. I appreciate it, mate. We all go through tough times, but was it tough people last, but tough times don't. So time to get into it, boys. Time to get into it. I appreciate it, my man.
Diamonds are made under pressure, DR. That's where you got to come from, mate. But
you always had a classier element to it, don't you? After I speak, I love it, Janet. That's why we love having you here, mate.
But with that, I'm going to throw the ball back to you because I feel like we have a good old-fashioned rant coming from you, DR. So do you want to take the floor?
Where do we start, really? You know, but I suppose it's. I'll go back to last week, and I was praising these rookies that I had on field. You know, the 80s and the 90s. I said the rookies had saved my week. But it's rookie roulette. The rant is about rookie roulette. You know, this week, after those scores, 30, then this is all on field for me, 37, 40, 45, 49. You know, apart from the Shees, there just doesn't seem like there are any good rookies that are going to be consistent from week to week. He's an absolute godsend, Harry Sheasel, at the moment. So that's where I'm really struggling at the moment, boys. You know, if you don't have any loops and you've just got to go with a bit of a gut feel, you're right one week, you're wrong the next. There's just no one that seems reliable enough to just give you something decent week upon week. So rant is rookie roulette. Get some consistency about you boys. I know it's tough. I know it's your first year. After the first month now, you're a little bit banged up. But come on, get it together. Get us some cash gen. And more importantly, some nice on-field points. No more of these 30s or 40s. Can't deal with it at the moment. So rookies, lift your game a little bit. Just a quick rant, but rant over this week, boys.
If I was just to add something to that, hopefully we don't get some of these rookies getting rested coming soon, because I know a certain West Coast rookie was looking pretty cooked on the weekend, Ruben Jinby. He's going to get managed this week in training and should play, but geez, it's about this time now when they're hitting the wall. We just got to cash them in beforehand. But I guess, is there anything else that you guys want to add with regards to rookies? I know, Spills, you nailed a pretty good rookie on the weekend. Do you want to talk a bit about your boy Max from Adelaide?
I was going to say that before, Janath. I got a bit carried away throwing the segue to Shorty. I actually forgot to state my headline for this week. And Shorty might know this famous quote. I don't know if it's famous or not, but it's one I recognise from one of the Geelong grand finals. Max Rook kicks a goal, and the commentator goes, slaps him Maxi. That's my headline for this week, boys. One Max Michelini. I faded Will Phillips because I couldn't get a midfielder rookie in, so I wanted LDU. Went Ridley down to Michelini, and Michelini almost put 20 points on Ridley. I mean, you talk about the small wins in SuperCoach, and I've banked about 300K doing that. Yeah. And, oh, gee, how shit odd is that, lads? So, yeah.
Yeah, he looked so Maxi. Good. He just intercepting, mate. He looked like a veteran floating around there, didn't he? He looked fantastic.
Got chucked the VC on him this week, lads. He's a pod as well. I mean, who out of myself and Shorty, like, who else has got this bloke? Like, I haven't seen him in many teams, let's be honest. And I'd paid up for him. I think he won 87K when I jumped on, and that was very ambitious, but not looking back now here, boys. Massive move.
Was this close to get him in, but just didn't want to use a boost. And I mean, you guys are flying at the moment with Max McLean. It's those hidden gems. You just want one of your pod rookies just have 100 game, like a Sav on the weekend with an 88, right? It's like, it's just cash that others aren't generating. And it's not going to matter now, but in a couple of weeks' time when you're priced out of someone, when someone else is priced out of someone, but you've got that extra cash to get an Uber in, and that's marvelous. Great work, boys. I guess with that, let's move on to one of our favorite segments on the podcast, which is the SuperCoach's Who. So we might go to you, DR. What's the SuperCoach's Who that you have for us this week?
One is SuperCoaches who started Dawson, Clary, and English. You would be absolutely loving life at the moment, particularly when you got blokes like myself who started Doherty, Laird, and bloody Shrek. You know, look, Shrek's come back. He's had a nice couple of weeks, which is good, but the point difference already, like over a month, is just jaw-dropping at the moment. So, SuperCoaches who started with those three big blokes, I'm guessing that you're ranked pretty highly at the moment. So, congratulations if you're selected, who I'm calling pretty much the big three, one from each line.
Right, that.
That's brilliant, DR. What about you, Spills?
Oh, lads, this is a bit of a cheeky stab at me draft, but I will.
Draft again. Yes, yeah.
If
Hey,
I
on, just
may.
quickly, hey, on Shorty. Spills loves draft this much, right? He set his alarm at 4 a.m. to pick up.
Yeah,
This man is
How'd he go
dedicated
for-
to the waiver.
How'd he go for you this week, mate? How'd he
Yeah,
go?
He flopped to 57. He flopped.
Mate.
What was it?
He flopped a bloody 57 on me.
A fitty.
This is why in my life I'm not waking up at 4 a.m. to do anything,
The roll was
especially not pick up
gone.
Sam bloody Petremski-Seaton.
Oh man, it's a problem. He's got a problem. This guy.
The dedication to the waiver,
I'm a
mate.
draft addiction.
That's unheard of.
Sorry,
Set
mate.
the
I'm
alarm
sorry.
tomorrow. We'll
This
be
is a
setting my
tangent.
alarm tomorrow.
This is a tangent, but who are you dropping Sam Petremski-Seaton for?
No, he's staying, mate. I've backed him in. The role is very good.
He's keeping it.
Averaging 95 prior to that
Okay.
ordinary score. Hopefully, he gets to be a cheap ball off half back. But yeah, we're asking a bit much of the bloke.
Not with that
This
haircut,
is-
mate.
No, I don't know. Yeah, that's a shocker, isn't it? I don't know what the bloke's thinking. Let's be honest. That's terrible. But nah, boys, my super coaches who have Jezza, Grundy, Day, Dawson, and Kerno in draft. Fucking kudos to those blokes. There wouldn't be many, I tell you. But
Who's
Fair
got
enough.
them? Who's you, is it?
Something's gone well for me this year.
The most personal
Yep.
super coach who I've ever heard in my life.
That's it. He's called himself.
Who's
that.
relating?
So custom. Like, that's it. Anyone
Who's
that
relating to
watches this, if you own those 5 blokes in the same team in draft, I would be flabbergasted.
Comment
If you
it. Send a
Yeah.
screenshot, and we will give you a shout out on the podcast next week. That's it. If you have those 5 blokes, show us a screenshot, and we will give you a podcast on. We'll
It'd be
give you
more
a
than
shout out.
It'd be more than a shout out. I'll be shouting whoever it is bloody dinner if they can show
There
that
we go.
screenshot.
That's
Dinner on field.
Dinner with
Really?
Spills.
dinner on
Look
Spills.
Mate, if
Shorty,
that doesn't get you
Skills,
excited.
if someone sends me those 5 or 6 blokes in the same team.
all right.
Kidding
Can you
yourself.
repeat them, Spills? Repeat them just for the viewers.
Yep. Jezza, Grundy, Day, Dawson, and Kerno in the same
Okay, so
draft.
5 blokes. 5 blokes,
All right.
and it
Five
can't
blokes.
be fabricated. Has to be a
No.
proper image. Send it and
I'll
still
be Harry
stuffed in
Mackay.
for
It's got to be Kerno. Yep.
Yeah.
I've actually got.
Sure.
I've actually got one. Yeah, no, you're right. I've actually got one more big call here, lads.
All right.
And this one's a bit
Big
of a,
call.
a bit of a stab at DR, not from myself, but someone else who's pretty established with themselves. So super coaches who have had a shocker. That's it. Just have had a shocker.
Drive by.
Kick a man when he's down.
A drive by.
I have a
Drive
crack on
by
SPS, and he comes back with just this overall ranking stuff. Like,
Shorty, do you want to give a bit of a positive outlook to the Super Coaches Who segment?
Oh, mate, absolutely. I mean,
One
credit
was a
to anyone
positive.
who lands all those players and gets a little dinner date with Spill. So lucky them.
If you're going to drive up to Bendigo, go for it.
oh, that
Go on,
come to you
B1,
now.
but it's
Oh, I
worth the
thought you'd
fee.
go and pick him
Go
up.
for it.
And
Yeah,
it's you a
Jesus.
great day, don't you? Drive up to
Yeah.
Bendigo and I'll
Yeah,
get you.
yeah.
Jeez, mate.
The petrol
One home
costs are
game,
savage.
lads.
But no, super coaches who landed all those rookies that you just wish you had. I feel like most of us sit around going, I missed out on Chandler, or geez, I missed out on him, or even someone like, there'd be people out there with Liam Stocker who took him over Liam Jones. You know, those little 50-50s that you reflect on now and you go, wow, that is making either a heap of points difference or a heap of cash difference. So I know there's a few that I wish I got a hold of earlier or at all, but that is the one I wanted to bring up, fellas.
Love it, mate.
Brilliant,
Love it. So
brilliant,
important,
Shorty.
isn't it?
DR, you've sort of rolled my Super Coaches Who, so I've come up with an impromptu one, and this is a big shout out for whoever came first. But Super Coaches Who have Nick Haynes, Dane Rampy, and Mitch Owens, who win the Super Coach Weekly Prize. What do you have to say for yourself,
Wow.
DR?
Did the weekly winner have Rampy?
Yes, they did.
You're joking.
Gee
Like,
whiz. That's
What?
brutal.
Lads, this is
So
why
just for
I get up
context,
at 4 a.m. to get waiver wires and free agents on draft.
Just for context here, a couple of weeks ago, on our big call segments. DR, you said that no one that has Dane Rampy will win the weekly or the overall SuperCoach prize. So,
Jeez, people don't
what's
forget,
your
do they?
apology?
All right, listen to Dane Rampy owners. I don't know what the logic is. I don't know what preseason research you came up with in order to select him in your starting side. But congratulations, you've got this one right. I apologise. And to the weekly winner, you're absolutely laughing at me making these big calls, hitting a 62K while you're just collecting a cool 1K in the pocket. So congratulations, and Dane Rampy, well done, my friend. Well done, my friend.
To be fair to Dane, like he can deliver a nice grand final speech and climb a post, but other than that, consistency in SuperCoach hasn't really been his abattoir, has it? Let's be honest. So that's definitely a ghost team selection from round one. It's got to be.
Yeah.
It's gotta be.
Well, Spills, I got to say, he is ranked 24, or they are ranked 24th at the moment, so I don't think they're still a ghost team.
What? Jeez.
Yeah.
Did you
There
say
we
they
go.
had Nick Haynes in there?
Nick
Is that what you said?
Haynes, Mitch Owens,
What?
Chad Warner, this team's Will Day. It's bloody full of pods.
That's
It's a good
outrageous.
team, hey? So
Wow, way.
whoever you are, if you're watching or listening, shout out to you. You got an apology from DR. I mean, that's gonna
You
make
gotta
you
admit when
here.
you're wrong.
That's exactly it. Well, I guess on the positive side of your big calls, Shorty, you weren't with us last week, but something happened. We got a prophecy, and all three of us nailed our big calls. I said
Nice.
that there's going to be a 170 SuperCoach score for a relevant player. Wouldn't you know it? Jordan Dawson.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. DR, you said the Lions were going to win by 25 points against the Pies, and
Yep.
wouldn't you know it? And Spills, I think you called the Nick Dacos special on Thursday.
I did, and I still faded him as a VC. I don't know why. I regret
didn't
it
back him
so
in.
much.
You needed to back him in there. But
I
that's
didn't
3
back
for 3.
myself in, boys. 3 for 3.
That's 3 for
Lovely.
3. So, can we go 4 for 4 this week? I might start us off. I'm not sure how big of a call this is, but my big call for this week isn't going to be found this week. But Harry Sheasel, the cheese, will be a top 6 forward and a top 6 defender. That's my big call. We'll
That's
see
a
at
big
season's
call.
end.
That's
If
a
that
two
comes
line.
out. But 2 lines. He's going to be a keeper on either end of them. So we'll see how that goes. DR, do you want to back up your
Wow.
Brisbane call from last week with something, mate?
Look, I'm not going Brisbane. I'm going a little bit SuperCoach related here, but unfortunately, the bloke got himself suspended for 2 weeks. He looked amazing. I tell you what, talk about someone passing the eye test. It was Will Day, and so I'm going to change my big call to in 2 weeks' time. This bloke's going to be a must-have, and he will be a top 6 defender. Absolutely lock it in. He did absolutely everything. It was in a loss. He tackled well. He's courageous. He was the one, during stoppages, actually on the move, attacking. He just played the complete game for me. So, Will Day, I think, will be an absolute must-have, and you can lock him in to be a top 6 defender for average by the end of the year. And I think it's good, actually. This works out well for me that he's actually rubbed out for 2 weeks because it gives me a little bit of time to work out a plan on how to get him in or the best strategy or the best way to get him in. So he's done me a really solid favor here, shown me what he's capable of, taking a couple of weeks rest, let me get my plans in order, and then I'm going to jump on this man quicker than anything when he returns. So that's my big call. Will Day,
Bit of
top 6.
deja vu there, DR.
Yeah.
I feel like this was the same conversation we were having this time last week, wasn't it? When we were talking about some of my handy draft prospects in my team. What did I say last week, boys, about top 6 defenders? Did I not mention Will Day in there?
Look, I may have, excuse me, I'm getting flustered here. I may have, borrowed it slightly from your Spills, but you backed away from a little bit. Said, "Oh, look, maybe top 10. I may have been going a bit too far." But
You definitely went conservative on it.
You weren't too committed there to the top 6.
I went hard on him. I was hard on him. When I say that he was
just snuck in the back door there, Spills, and sort of gone with the day call. You were on him, mate, but I didn't steal Michael Laney, so you can keep him, but I'll take Dave.
Can I add one thing in here? So I'm a great advocate of Bryce Mitchell's work with the price projections on Twitter, He's got
Legend.
James Sicily at about 550k in 2 weeks' time. So, DR, if you had to pick between Will Day at 475 and James Sicily, if he gets about 105 in these next 2 weeks, he'll bottom out at around 550. Will Day at 475, James Sicily at 550. A or B? What do you reckon right now?
Damn, that's so tough. But I'm going Will Day. I'm going Will Day. I'm that committed. Look, I'm that committed.
Blowing me socks off, mate. Gee whiz.
Listen,
That's your big call.
I watched
need
this
water
guy take
after
20
that.
marks in round 1. Wow,
sometimes the data, right? Sometimes the data doesn't do justice to someone's game. I was watching this bloke in awe, dead set in absolute awe. He's their best midfielder. He's going to carry Hawthorn's midfield. Don't worry about Newcomb with Lethal's number. He should have given Will Day that number. Lethal,
I agree.
Will Day must have been offended by that, I think. For such a slightly built sort of a bloke, he goes in so hard. Maybe that's a bit of a concern, is a bit of injury concern there.
Yeah.
But he did not take a backward step. He had intercept contested marks, clearances, a tackling beast. He just did everything all around the ground for me. And as I mentioned before, in a loss as well. So don't worry about the captain Sicily. Don't worry about the captain Sicily. Will Day. I'll tell you what, I'm so dreamy about this man. I'm thinking of future Brownlow. Maybe around his neck,
He did sign a 4-year extension as well.
Wow.
So he's locked in.
You just wait for Hawthorn to get back on track. This bloke is going to be an absolute superstar. So Will Day, I'm all over the bloke. I'm all over the bloke. So watch him crash and burn in the next.
Well, I guess judging by our reactions,
number 3 DR, agree.
Judging by our reactions, I think we're taking the others are taking James Sicily at 550 over Will Day at 475.
Oh well, but man, he made a good case for it, didn't he, mate? Holy moly!
This might be a new segment we might have to bring in a couple of weeks.
It was like a look of disappointment more than anything. You're all just disappointed.
Oh, DR, we can't be disappointed with that logic.
Use a boost and grab both.
Use a boost. Get 2 Hawks defenders in. Who knows, mate? Honestly. We'll see how we'll obviously have to see how it comes out with the prices and how that happens. But just a short caveat, another tangent. Cam McKenzie will be a good pick this week. Will Day's out. There's going to be some mid-time vacated. Connor Nash got dazed up a little bit. So we'll just to wait and see. But I think Cam McKenzie's a good pick. All right, Spills, your big call. Where are we going?
Well, I'm not a big fan of that big call McKenzie because he's on the chopping block for me this week. But I know I'm going to have to trade out someone else. Oh, Janeth, you always do this to me with the numbers.
No.
Now I'm in an absolute bloody rubble. All right. Now, my big call's not as contentious as most. And from previous history, it's almost a 100% conversion that it's going to happen. But if it does, I'll fall off my chair. Boys, my big call for this week is Lockie Cowan will score back 51s. We've seen it 3 times in a row. He's gonna go a quad. So if he can do that against Adelaide on Thursday night, I'm taking that one. I'm taking that win, boys. That's my big call.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Would you take 51 if you had the E on him?
He's on bench.
No, you put the E on him. Plays first game of the round. You taking his 51? No.
Absolutely not. But I'll be absolutely wrapped with it. I'll be stoked with that result because I get my big call right. So
he'll be in the mid-50s in the last quarter, and Spills will be hoping he kicks it out in the full, I reckon.
Scale down.
51.
We're up and give away a free kick. Scale down, man.
No, but you've got to celebrate the little wins. I'm not a Wilmot owner, but the Wilmot owners out there that took the risk on Cowan, you got that extra point. That's the point that's going to matter at the end of the season.
That's right. Who knows? Could be the difference, mate. Could be the difference.
That's shocking.
Shorty, what's your big call, mate?
Yeah, mate. I like your McKenzie call, mate. I think that's a good one. I feel like a few might be a bit frustrated with him, but that's a good point you raised, mate. For me, I'm getting all aboard Rowan Marshall, mate. I reckon he's really going to pump a massive score out. I don't know how massive a call it is because he's up against nobody in that ruck department at the Pies, but he's been a little bit off. I feel like he would have cashed in without Wits on the weekend. He didn't quite. But I'm saying Rowan Marshall 150 plus this week, and I reckon he's going to go bang. Restore the faith, boys.
Love it,
like
Shorty.
All aboard, row your boat.
SuperCoaches who ditched Wits SuperCoaches who ditched Rowan for Wits last week.
Oh,
Oh,
and then
jeez.
missed
Wouldn't
out
hurt.
on the rolling lockout because of another player they traded in was locked, so they had to
Yeah.
hold wits, and they
Oh,
couldn't
That's the
undo
stuff
it.
a nightmare.
that
It was
is
like the
Isn't it?
Luke Davies
Oh.
Uniac nightmare a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it?
Has
Oh.
anyone ever seen this much carnage in a season? Like this early, the amount of late outs, the injuries to relevant players, it's kind of mind-boggling how it's just all playing out.
Yeah,
It
I
is,
feel
mate.
like it's almost not so much how well you could have done. I mean, obviously it comes into it, but how well you can do to avoid the absolute
Yeah.
carnage that goes on. Like it's almost dodged the bullet at times. Yeah, it's been crazy.
Well, I guess with that, Shorty, we'll pass it back over to you now. This is a new segment for the times you're on, mate. But Shorty's say, do you want to go about a little rant of your own rant? So you're the analogous version of DR's. Where are we going with this one?
Yeah, this is one from the old school, mate. Shorty used to produce this one back on the channel with some of the poorest editing you'd see. The thumbnail was straight out of paint. It was awful, but Shorty's say is about the trades, mate. It's a bit of an overall one, and we got too many, boys. What is it, 36 we've got? I mean, if I can just take you down memory lane, back in the day, and for those who've done it for a while, 20 trades is what we had once upon a time. Went up to 24, and then I think it went to 28 or 30, and then it sort of sat there for a bit, and then COVID kicked in, and fair enough, we wanted to boost it up in case of those late outs or they caught COVID, fair enough. But that ain't happening anymore. Let's bring it back down, guys. It's too much, and I know I don't know if it'll happen, but on a serious note, I just think it takes a massive tactical advantage away from a lot of people who are the deeper thinkers of the game. I think it's so hard to find a point of difference these days, but trading is that point of difference. I just think, do you remember back in the day when, say Will Day, he's out for 2 weeks, what would happen? Would people be like, oh, gee, do I keep him? Do I just hold him on the bench? I feel like it's a no-brainer now because we've got trades coming out.
Allows you to be so aggressive.
Yeah, there's no advantage for the patience or timing it nicely on the price drops and rises. It is such a free-for-all. You can make so many mistakes and still end up with 22 premiums at the end of the year. I'd just love it to come back down. I think it's a big thing I've been ranting on about for a while, but that is Shorty's say for this week.
I love it, mate.
100% all over that.
Yep.
I just wonder if I'll do it.
I guess I want to know your thoughts on this. Do you feel like we're in, like, even as a patient person, I think I'm a patient SuperCoach player, but you're almost inclined to trade because others are trading. You don't want to trade, but because everyone else is trading, you're like, oh, I've got to keep up with this. It's not that I want to trade.
Yeah, I agree. I remember back in the day, sort of asking my mate, like, oh, how many trades you got? And he'd have 2 less than you, and you felt like you had a bit of an edge. Where now I feel like, what's the difference between having 26 and your mate has 29? There is so many. There's just so many. I used to say, one of my things I used to say on the channel like 6-7 years ago was that trades are gold, mate. You got to treat them like gold. They're not anymore. I mean,
everyone uses them. They're being abused now.
Yeah, you can burn a couple.
Boosting, look at me this week, flirting with trading Darcy to English and Rowan down to bloody Ryan, and then try and get up to Dawson. It's absurd. I thought about it, but it allows you to do crazy shit like this that you would never do in a normal season. And you look at mine, DR, and JANATH'S rank. Shorty having a great season. It's really good to see that. But you look at our ranks, we put so much time into it, and it means absolutely bugger all because you look at people who barely even played SuperCoach because they can be so aggressive. You get the most outrageous teams that turn out to be good. I mean, taking the risks and boosting, I think 36 is way too much, and it sort of makes it a bit harder for those that put in a lot of thought. I agree with you, Shorty. If you had 20 trades, I wouldn't be jumping off Darcy the English. I'd be keeping the cards close to my chest and trying to keep as many trades as possible. So there's no argument there. What about yourself, DR? What are your thoughts on this little debate?
Well, in the position I'm in, I need to use every bloody one of them. So I want 50 this year in particular. But look, I do agree. I do agree. You know, old school players, you remember that, you know, even if you did a little bit of extra research, the rookies were the same price, whether or not your pick number 1 or your pick number 90 back in the day. It was the issue these days is that there's so much good competition. There's so much content out there that it's hard to get a leg up. Shorty's right. It's hard to find a real point of difference these days. And so, look, I think that point of difference could come down to your trading and how good of a trader you are. So I've always been a fan of going towards the lower end because I'm someone that backs my trading at the end of the day. Probably not this year, but on most years anyway. So, yeah, I'm all for that, cutting down the amount of trades anyway. Yeah. Janath, any quick thoughts, mate, yourself?
I agree with both of you guys. I think you're perfectly right, Short. It's just the fact as a trader, that is your point of difference. But it's almost better as if, like, even with preseason, the fact that people take risks on injury-prone guys, like a Nat 5, for instance, with 20 trades, you're not starting Nat 5. Let's be real here.
Good point.
Because you're starting these injury-prone guys because you know you have an outlet to get rid of them. And the risk outweighs the reward. But back when it was even 30 trades, you're like, oh, not touching anyone that's had soft tissue injuries, anyone that's even mildly had an injury in preseason, because you just can't take the risk. But we do have DR, you do have some links with KFC Supercoach. Al Payton might be something to raise to him. I get the feeling.
Get on him.
I'll speak with him, man. Yeah, look, he's one of the best blokes in SuperCoach, Al, and always up for feedback as well. So I'll certainly pass that on for you, boys. See if we can cut that back a little bit.
That's perfect. Well, we'll get into a bit of the analytical sort of numbers side of things. So, DI, if you just want to bring up some of the numbers from last week. So we've been tracking our triple doubles, and we had 3 in the first 3 rounds from Blake Acres, Mason Wood, and Jake Kelly. But I think we got some more household names this time. So we had 4 triple doubles in one round. What's happening? Marcus Bontempelli, 25 posies, 12 tackles, 17 contested possessions, 11 clearances. What a game. It felt like it was underscored in SuperCoach. Yeah, 22. I'm looking at him and like, if that was 2020 Marcus Bontempelli, he's got 250. He's double ton there, but I guess we'll take it. Tom Liberatore, what a star. He's flying real under. I think he's like M3 at the moment in terms of average. 23 posies, 10 tackles, 14 CPs. Noah Anderson, big game. He didn't get a coach's vote, apparently, for this 38 possession, 10 tackle, 17 contested possession game. And then Clary, just classic Clary. It hurts as a non-owner. I saw JD tweeted out something about his heart rate or his blood pressure, and as a non-owner, how it fluctuates up and down. That's me as well. It's like, oh, just calm down, Clary. There's no way to get you in either. So it's 34 possessions, 10 tackles, 18 contested possessions, 10 clearances. What a star. I guess the last thing I want to sort of talk about here, we got heaps of close calls, but the big guys in there, Charlie Curnow, Tim English, Jeremy Cameron. I guess there's some other key position players there, but it's so good seeing, Shorty, you're a Cat supporter, I'm a Blues supporter, so just seeing the Charlie Curnow, Jeremy Cameron back and forth, it's really good to see as just a standard footy fan, a fan of key forwards in general, right?
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? There's not much better than seeing those big forwards absolutely tear a game apart. And the 2 fellas you referenced there, it's not just the goals, the way they use the footy sometimes too.
So good.
It's bloody good to watch.
So good.
Oh, that just quickly, Cameron on the weekend, you know, in that first half in particular, I reckon he was involved in either kicking every goal or an assist. I don't think there was almost a scoring chain where he wasn't involved in some way. That bloke is the best player in the competition. He's the number 1 player in the competition. He's not just a traditional key forward either. He is just phenomenal. He is a phenomenal player. How good would it be to be able to watch him in your actual side? So,
good.
well, we.
And when they're both in,
Go on, Spills.
And when they're both in your draft side, and you watch acts like that, it's stuff that can make a grown man cry. Honestly, I mean, wow. They're not in life. They don't play for the Bombers, but they play for me, and that's good enough. So
watching Jeremy Cameron and Curnow live, you can tell that they're just different. And as a Blues supporter with Kerno, the fact that we were so patient with him, like he knew he was special, but because he's now had a good run of it and won a Coleman, you can tell just how good of a player he is. And I got to say, yeah, Tim English, that's for a ruckman, 20 disposals, 9 tackles, 2 goals, 11 contested possessions. That's sort of Dean Cox territory. It's like when I was first growing up watching footy, he was like the ruckman, him and Sandy, but like Dean Cox was the guy that gets around the ground sort of thing. Have we seen anything since Dean Cox to Tim English?
Oh, Matthew Leuenberger or
2016.
One of the greats.
You 2016 R2, wasn't it, Shorty?
Matthew Leuenberger combination.
Yeah.
Oh, look, I watched him live the other week, last Thursday, when the Lions played the Doggies. The bloke just played like a midfielder. He demanded the ball. He literally did everything. I don't know if there's a player in the competition that has as many scoring avenues than Tim English does. I'd say apart from the kickouts, he can score in every single way. So he's a phenomenal player. As we know, the only question marks here are durability concerns. And so far, he's looked fantastic during the season. So I think, and this sounds terrible, right? And I would never wish injury on anybody, right? Oh. Dead set. I wouldn't, right? But for non-owners, you're sort of not hoping, but you're waiting, maybe just a little rolled ankle. You know, nothing serious, no broken bones or anything, just a little rolled ankle out of the game. Come right down. That's probably not what you're hoping for, but maybe what could save you. Because apart from that, man, he's already put how many points on the next best ruckman? I'm not too sure, but it's a heap. So, yeah, phenomenal selection, Timmy English.
Well, for that, you got to think, if you trade our Sean Darcy to English, like I did last week, you're thinking, oh my goodness, Sean Darcy scored 125, and you still got 20 points on him.
Oh no, that's how crazy it is, eh? Yeah, that's how crazy.
Can I just suggest something real quick here, boys? While he's brought up Sean Darcy, he's 3 game average against the next 3 oppositions from last year in 2022 is about 55 against his next 3 opponents.
Piss
off. He's got
really?
Yeah, I looked at it earlier today. His next 3, Sean Darcy, it's about, if you work it out, it's about, I don't know, 55 to 57 average against his next 3 opponents.
Wow.
So I'm scared, but
oh man,
I don't want to talk his out of it, but
I guess, yeah, it really is a bit, it is a thing, but at the same time, Sean Darcy is a hard ruckman to come up against. So with the Bulldogs playing Fremantle, not this week, but next week, it'll be really interesting to see how that sort of plays. Because I think, like, on average, ruckman score about 10 points less than their season average against Fremantle. So, I mean, if English wants to pump out a 120 against Freo, good on him. But yeah, it's sort of good being able to segue triple-double stats with SuperCoach stats, because there's obviously that big correlation there. I guess what we're going to get to now is we're going to sort of unveil or unfurl our mailbag, some mailbag questions that we have. And we'll start off with the first one. I think what's good around what we can do here is we can sort of go round table. Best trade-in for Doherty. I just want one name from each of you guys. A little short justification. You can go either up, you can go down. But maybe we'll talk about if you... so I'll give this to you, Dia. If you had 100K in the bank, so you have the ability to get up to Jordan Dawson, or you can go down if you want, who would you go to as a non-owner? Oh, if you don't own Doherty, or if you own Doherty, but you need to get to someone.
This is the big question I'm asking myself this week, because I'm in this exact situation. I do own Doherty, and I will have 100K in the bank after bringing Van Ruin in. So the 2 options for me, the clear options are Dawson or Tommy Stewart this week. And you question yourself, is it worth going up to Dawson, knowing he's got that role, he's absolutely in form? There doesn't seem to be too many question marks about anything he's doing, maybe apart from the fact that he may cop a Finn McGuinness tag in a couple of weeks' time. Or do you go with Tommy Stewart? We've already seen this bloke come back after injury with a 167, was it? Or a 160 plus from memory. We know that he's got the ceiling. The only, I don't know, and this is probably a better one for Shorty being a Cats man himself. I don't know if I'm looking into this or thinking about it too much, but the possible effect of Mitch Duncan into the side just gave me a cold feet, I suppose you'd say. Originally, I'd locked Tommy Stewart in. I think banking that money, that extra 50K or whatever it is really appealing to me for my next upgrade. But yeah, with a 92 and Mitch Duncan playing so well, it did have me a little bit concerned. So at this stage, I am going with Dawson. Shorty, are you sticking fat with your man from Geelong? I'm happy for you to change my mind here, mate, or at least give me something to think about, mate.
I think I'm still backing Tom to deliver. I was just looking up last year and how they all went. I must admit there's a little bit of that where he might take a little bit of that exit D50 ball off Tom Stewart, but I still think we saw Stewart put together insane numbers even when Duncan was in the team. If anything, I feel like it may work the other way where Duncan at times is going to be disadvantaged by Tom Stewart. I think we've seen Duncan play sort of even that half forward wing role when Stewart came back in the team, but obviously he was going nicely off half back before. But yeah, I would still think Tom Stewart's a 105 to 110 average, even with Duncan in there. But and I'd be right there with you in terms of the options. I'm weighing up the exact same thing. I'm slightly leaning towards Stewart just because I'm looking about 3 to 5 trades down the track as well. But if I want to just throw out another name just in case you didn't have the cash, whether you wanted to wait a week for Jack Sinclair to drop, or even I think Bailey Dale looked all right. And he's probably not quite your top echelon backman, but he did look good the last couple of weeks after starting slowly.
Nice pod.
That's brilliant, Shorty. I guess DR, just add to your Tom Stewart discussion, games coming up at GMHBA, which he normally performs well at. So even his 187 against Fremantle last year was there. 122, 174 in 3 straight games at GMHBA.
Sorry, Janet, when's he starting back at GMHBA? So when's
from next week. So they play Sydney next week.
Is it that early? I thought it was a little bit later down the track, mate.
So they got round 6 Sydney, round 8 Adelaide, round 11 GWS, and then there's the bye and all that. So 3 games before the bye at GMHBA. I'm going to toss one out there into the ring before I go to you, Spills. Mason Redman. He's gone above 110 3 times now, excluding that sort of stinker against the Saints, which I'd like to think is an anomaly based on the type of game he plays. Spills, that's why I went ahead, because I want your thoughts on this as well. But he appears to be playing the more central role in that defense as opposed to a Ridley type who's either playing lockdown with Cirque Thatcher there, or not lockdown with Cirque Thatcher, but he's just a bit everywhere. But Redmond sort of seems to be the general there. What do you reckon, Spills? And do you have another alternative to the Dawson, Dale, Stewart, Redmond discussion here?
Well, Redmond's definitely the one. You've just reminded me. I've actually got him in draft as well. I completely forgot about that. But he's been a killer. It's like unbelievable. That's 6. So this bloke, if I'm going to take him out for dinner, better have Red Dog as well. But as a classic option, if you're looking for value, I think around that price, he's 100% the best option when you look at your you got Day as well. Obviously, he's going to miss, but you look at your Haynes types, your Dales. I really think Redmond's probably the best option, and his prices scaled down a fair bit from the St Kilda game. That was one. I think he gave away about 6 free kicks. So that's another thing you got to be careful with Red Dog. He's not the most disciplined bloke going around, and at times he does frustrate you when he doesn't play in from kick-ins. So this is a guy who doesn't really get fazed by the fact that he's a really popular or highly rated fantasy SuperCoach pick. I don't think he understands that, because there are a lot of times where he just kicks it out. It's very frustrating, but he still scores unbelievably well. So I love Redders as a pick, but the floor's pretty bad as well. And he will, he delivers one. He'll probably give you about, 6 or 7 120 pluses a year. He's got the highest ceiling. And watching him live, he's a seagull, but he gets his hands dirty as well. He's phenomenal, but he will drop the odd 60, 70. And as a pod, that'll hurt you quite a fair bit. I wouldn't recommend it, but for the price, he's your best bet, and I love him as a pick. So, yeah, no, I like it, Janath. Definitely a great call.
Well, we've got 4 options there. I'm just going to throw one more into the ring, which is Adam Sard. Obviously, with
Yes,
Doherty
I was
out
gonna
for 4 to
mention
6
I
weeks.
don't want to talk about
No
Side.
Williams.
I've had enough of Side because I knew to pick
We-
him, but I didn't.
I should have picked
So
him.
close.
It's not too late to rectify. That's what I want to say, is that he's cheaper than Dawson. He's higher than Stewart. So if you trust in Adam Sard as a long-term prospect, I think you should be top 6 or at least close to top 6. He's a great pick, especially now there's one less competitor for kick-ins. Big loss as a Carlton fan, losing Doherty. But Sard he's still got that attacking mindset even when he's playing as a lockdown defender on a small forward. So with that in mind, there's sort of 5 options there. We sort of discussed it. Let's go into the best rookie on the bubble. Slim pickings here. I might just ask you guys, I'm going to add Samson Ryan into this mix as well. But if you had to choose between Samson Ryan and Jacob Van Rooyen, Ryan 33K more expensive, but probably has the better role now without Nankervis for 6 to 8 weeks. Who are we going? Let's start with you, DR. Which one of those two?
Oh, it's a really tough one, isn't it? Because Van Rooyen, I think, obviously plays a really good side. While Max is out, I think he could jump into that ruck relief role as well. We're not talking about a heap of percentage here. But look, I would probably... Look, from a personal point of view, I've already got a Sava. So I think if you're an Sava owner, I'd just be keeping on to him for now, for someone with that DPP. And I'd be going to Van Rooyen just for that, to save that extra 30K. I'm in my situation, I really need the extra 30K in the bank. I think probably scoring potential would go to Ryan, just in that ruck role. But my other concern is, how far is Soldo away? I don't think Soldo's too far away.
2 weeks?
Yeah, so
Sure.
will that be enough?
point.
The reason why I didn't look to bring Ryan in the week before, or was it this week or the week before, was because he got subbed. He was a sub. So, but I suppose with Lynch out now, Nank's out, probably doesn't even matter with Soldo. I suppose if Lynch is out as well, then he probably just plays more of that forward role, I think.
Yeah,
but
I was going to say
Soldo,
that.
I'll tell you what, I'll change your mind. If Soldo is out for more than 4 weeks, I would go with Ryan. If not, I'm going Van Rooyen and taking the
It's a good matchup against Sydney this week. It is a good matchup for him to get a. I'm forgetting someone. There's another there's a Richmond guy, a defender.
Miller.
Ben Miller, yeah, that's right. So if Ben Miller comes in, then it's probably looking like what Collingwood has with Ash Johnson and Dan McStay, sort of that makeshift ruck role. But yeah, Shorty, 30K plus Van Rooyen or Brian?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, I bought Van Rooyen in last week, and I mean, he's such a talent. He looks great, but I feel like I wouldn't know Samson Ryan if I tripped over him in the street, so I don't know much about the bloke. But I feel like whenever we get the option of a guy that could ruck solo, which I'll be listening to those Dimmer press conferences midweek and getting a feel for how they're going to stack up, I'd love to see even just 2-3 weeks if he just can pump out 70s and 90s, as a main ruckman. I'd probably roll the dice on it, but I want a bit of an indication from Dimmer. But and like DR said, I don't have Sabs, so I'm sort of looking at, could it be a nice bit of flexibility for me, just in case English or Marshall went down. So I'm slightly leaning towards Ryan with a little bit of research to come.
Awesome. It's Bills, yourself, mate?
Yeah, I'm on the fence with this one. I think Ryan's probably got the better role. Van Rooyen does have the Dons this week. As good as form we're in at the moment, we do bleed a little bit of scoring points. Like we score high, but we concede as well. So I like that for Van Rooyen, whatever his name is. But he's also got that 90 in his system. So cash gen, which is just fluctuating this year. Like, look at what's going on with Jimby. Chance that he might not even play. He's stuffed up his break even, and Mackenzie's struggling as well. Chandler was a bad miss. I think we've been given a second chance to jump on a Melbourne small forward rookie. and there are very few that get an opportunity. So I think Van Ruin at the moment, but yeah, as you said, Shorty, you just got to wait and see and see what happens with these press conferences on Richmond. What are they going to do as their preferred ruckman? But yeah, it's a tough one, boys. At the moment, Van Ruin, but yeah, by this much, I'm not convinced. So can definitely change.
Well, we'll fire through the next questions, boys. So, Shorty, are you a Cogs owner by any chance?
I'm not at the moment. I am
So
not.
we're all not Cogs owners, but if you did own Cogs, what would you do? I'm going to start us off here, and I'm going to say firm hold. I don't think the role is there. He's just having a phase where he's butchering a little bit. He starts games off really well. So I think in each of the games, last couple of games, been on like 45 or 50 at quarter time or near quarter time, and then he just fades right out. So it's a clear hold for me. Any of you guys dispute that? You reckon he's a sell? What do you think?
So
Sell.
So I'll
You gotta-
just quickly agree with you, Janice, and I'll go
I'm a
hold.
hold. Yeah,
I'm a hold.
I'll-
So Spills,
I'd
you're
love
the
to hear
sell, mate.
Spills here.
Why do
I'm
you
a
reckon?
hold.
Why do you reckon he's a sell?
we just talked about this, boys. We got 36 trades this year. Get rid of him. Stuff it. What you got to lose? You got. If I was a Cogs owner, I'd be dropping quicker than Leon in 2020 in making their mark. Honestly, he's out. Gone. Jump on someone that you miss. Get Zeeble in. I doubt.
No,
if
you
got Cogs,
are not trading Stephen Caniglio for Jack Siebel. That is not the advice you're trying to give out here. Surely, sir.
I mean, he's struggling,
No,
mate.
no. Yeah, you could probably. I think you hold. Yeah, you're right. He looked. No, look. To be fair, like watched him on the weekend, being at the game behind the goals, like box office spot, saw Stringer's barrel. It was textbook. Loved it from the Bombers. But Cogs looked spectacular in the first half. I thought he was going to score 120 for sure, but he just dropped off. I don't know what happened. He died in the arse. Maybe turned it over a little bit, but yeah, definitely hold Cogs. I mean, there's not. What's his price? It wouldn't be too much. So is there much
He's
of a real
going to be
avenue?
very good buying in a couple of weeks. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think you said it right there, Janet. In a couple of weeks, he's an absolute buy for me. I think
So
if he
he-
comes
Yeah, I
right
love
down,
that.
we know what he can produce. Remember, people were jumping on this bloke in round 2 after that massive round 1 score. We've missed him.
Oh,
Let's jump on him. I know people use the boost to get Cogs in.
jeez.
So
And who traded him out last year when he maxed? Like I
A lot
did.
of people. Jeez,
I
a lot
definitely
of
did.
people
And then he come good. He
Yeah,
played
I did.
North and scored bloody 170 or something like that, and had me tearing my hair out. So no,
Well-
I agree with you boys now. Hold the bloke.
Just for some
Oh,
data
nice.
backing here, if he scores 100 in his next 2 games, he's going to bottom out around 585k, which is, I think that's free,
That's free.
just a bargain. That's just money, free money.
Mm.
So I guess just one thing to loop this into our 5th question. There's Clary worth trading in at his current price. If trading out Cogs is the only way you can get Clary, or trading out Ridley is the only way you can get Clary, would you do either of those 2 trades?
I'd do Ridley at the moment, just because I haven't got near as much faith in Ridley being a top 6 to 10 as what I've got Cogs being a top 6 forward. So I still rate Cogs a top 6 forward from here.
Yep.
Ridley, I don't. So if you could go Ridley to Oliver, you know, how many points you're adding to your score each week? You're getting a captain into your side where it's been a really tough year to select a captain, hasn't it? At least if you go Clary, you're going to be pretty safe week upon week. So I wouldn't go Cogs to Clary, but I would go Ridley to Clary using some magic DPP myself.
Shorty, would you trade Cogs or Ridley to Clary?
Seeing it similar there to DR, I'm not a big believer in Ridley being right up there as well. I just don't think he's got that ceiling like he did maybe at the start of a couple of years back or whenever it was. But yeah, I wouldn't do it for Cogs. And I think sometimes with Clary, it's a tough one. I feel like sometimes you just got to take that medicine if you've missed him at this point. I mean, gee, paying 700k for him. I guess you could weigh up the argument of, you know, okay, it's a lot of cash, but how many points am I losing compared to other people? But yes to Ridley, not so much for Cogs. I'd be holding Cogs.
Yeah. And Spills?
Yeah. I agree with you, Shorty. Look, Ridley's my favourite player as Essendon, man. I love him. Got the number 14 on my back. But, yeah, he was bait this year. He sucked us all in. And I'm very happy we got to own him for a little bit of a period there. But, yeah, I hate to brag, boys, but I literally down him to Michelini, and Michelini put 20 points on the bloke. So I think that speaks for
How
itself.
good's that?
A
That is
rookie
so
or a premium to a rookie. That's literally what I did, and then that got me Callahan to LEU. So look, yeah, you got to jump off Ridley, and maybe target his right hand man Mace. That's at the same sort of price, next cheapest bloke with twice a better role. So I don't know if you'd be comfortable doing that, but can you really justify paying $700K for Oliver? Like, you didn't get those scores. Like, what's to say he won't just come out and score 90 or 100 this week? It'd be all right, but it wouldn't be what you want. And I know I'm a massive advocate for this because I started Laird and I've been on the back end of these bloody bang average scores. So last thing you want to do is repeat that and jump on Oliver. Yeah, he's been in red hot form, but yeah, you weren't on the receiving end of those 120, 130 pluses. So I don't know. I'd hold fire.
I'm just going to sort of segue this into a discussion that's outside of these questions, but there's two really high-end uber mid-premiums that have sort of bottomed out, in my opinion, with good fixtures coming up. I'm going to tell them to you guys. So we got Lockie Neal at 620K with North, GWS, Fremantle to come, and Tuke Miller at 626K with Fremantle, North, and Richmond to come. If you can offload Doherty with Setherfield, who looks a bit banged up and may have a hard fixture coming up in these next couple of weeks with, sorry, I'm just going to have to bring the fixture up. Just bear with me. With Melbourne, Collingwood to come.
Yeah.
Who would you bring? Miller or Neal?
It's definitely Miller for me, but DR probably talk a bit better to Neal, because I'd love to hear your thoughts, to be honest, mate. Yeah,
I'm with you, Shorty. I've actually been trying to put, because I actually started Neal, mate, in my starting side. Just looking at his history, he seems to start off with an absolute bang, mate. So I thought, here we come, your nice 135 average over the first 4 or 5, maybe, like he tends to do. But we were talking about it last week, mate, and something I can't put my finger on. I don't know if it's the captaincy, the fact that he's worried about other people's game now, the selfishness has gone out of things a little bit. It just doesn't seem like he's really hunting the ball as much. Like he's lost a little bit of urgency, and I would never consider Lockie Neal to be someone that doesn't put his best effort in. I don't know if he's just coming in with a bit of a different mindset this year, mate, but he's certainly not the Lockie Neal disposal pig of old. He's down, I think, about average of 7 disposals from last year over the first 4 rounds as well. So I think given the fact that disposal count's down, that's really hurt his ceiling. And so that's the thing I worry about, mate. How is he going to get one of these big ceiling games? I'm just not seeing one coming anytime soon. So at least with Miller, he's been pretty consistent, gone above the ton. It hasn't been anything spectacular, but really, which one of the premium mids, apart from what Oliver, Lib has been okay, have done much this year? It's not taking a big average to be in the top 10 mids this year so far. I think what's it, 110, 112 or something ridiculous like that. I'm not too sure.
LDU's averaging 135 or something.
Yeah.
In my side, I'd be happy with that.
Well, Miller's averaging 112.5 and he's the 5th ranked mid.
Well, there you go. There you go. So none of them are setting the world on fire, but I'm going with my man, Tuke Miller. I think the trademark.
I'll go with that. Yeah, I'll go with that. I think Ashcroft and Dunkley are really hurting him. I believe in that. There's so many mouths to feed in that midfield, and not only that, but DR, the Lions playing a bit different last year. Like, I feel like they're attacking even more. There's a bit of Collingwood about them. Like, they're just playing on from every single kick, less stoppage work. You see Danaher and Hipwood obviously under a bit of scrutiny as of late, but they're getting a lot more involved. Like Charlie's kicking more goals. I just think there's a little bit of a different game style at the Lions, and that's not really a good result on a contested midfielder. So, Tuke every day of the week, lads.
It's
same
the
goes for
Gabba,
Dunkley, doesn't it? It's the same. Dunkley's down as well. No,
they
less
hurt each
contested
other.
ball, less stoppages.
For sure.
So
I thought that Dunkley would be beneficial to Neal, to be honest, to take a little bit of the heat off him, a little bit of that defensive pressure off him. But I just don't know. I don't know how much of a correlation Dunkley in is affecting Neal's scores. It's, as I said, there's no real data to support anything. It's just a bit of the eye test and a bit of gut feel. As it's frustrating not being able to get to the answer, because it's, as a Brisbane man, obviously, and a Lockie Neal previous owner, I love the man. It's just, it's frustrating that I can't put my finger on it. But Yeah, long story short, Miller for me.
Well,
Yeah.
cheers for those opinions, guys, because I think those two very sort of underrated options this week. If you want to get in Clary, but you can't afford it, and this is spoken from my experience as well, because I'm trying to sort of segue into improving my midfield. And exactly, we got Clary, Took, Neil, Uber premiums that should be top 8. 2 of them are sort of got to the bottom end. There's an 80k difference between the 3. So that's where we stand. With that 4th question here on this thing, if Witz is out, do we bring in Ryan? I'm going to give my take on this. If Witz is out, you bring in Ned Moyle. You have a handcuff. So it's sort of a term that we use in other sort of fantasy sports where I know in like the NFL, if you've got a running back that's injured, you have their backup ready. With Witz, he's a durable player. You bring in Moyle for Nick Madden because Gold Coast have decent fixtures coming up in terms of looping as well. I don't think you go all the way down to Ryan because of the fact that we don't know if he's going to be the only ruck, if he's even a good ruck. At least we know that Moyle is a true ruck that can score well, has good hit out to advantage ratio, and will play if Witz is out. So it's not like there's no other circumstance where Moyle doesn't play unless he's injured. Thoughts?
I like it. Yeah, absolutely
Yeah,
agree,
I
mate.
agree.
Something I didn't actually think of, but I love the handcuff strategy there because you're basically guaranteed if he's out that your emergency is going to be playing, don't you?
Yeah.
Unless if he's injured, that's a
I
different
like
case.
it.
But yeah, I like the old handcuff option there, Janath. Very, very nice, mate.
Shorty, would you Moyle, Ryan? Neither?
Yeah. Look, I like the way you're thinking there. In terms of how long is he meant to be out for? Is that strategy sort of
Just
putting Witz
honest.
to the bench just to get coverage for the moment, or is you're not trading Witz out completely? Yeah,
you wouldn't trade Witz out for general soreness, right? That's the tried and tested.
Yeah, okay.
The
I
old.
wasn't sure what he was out.
Not
like
with 20 trades, he wouldn't.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. I guess
perfect, man. That's good.
Yeah, cool. And I guess we touched on Ridley trade or hold. Personally, I think he's one of those players where he's averaging too much to trade definitively, and he's not averaging enough to hold definitively. It is all context dependent. Does anybody else reckon that they're firm on trading Ridley or holding Ridley?
Either way, his break even isn't anything terrible. It's pretty close-ish to his average, I think. So either way, there's arguments either way. If you just want to hold for a week, go for it. If you want to get him up, get him up. I've really got no arguments either way, I don't think.
Shorty?
I'll be putting him on the chopping block.
Your favourite player, mate? Guess you don't have him in draft.
It hurts me. No, DR's pinched him off me. Maybe we could make some sort of negotiation. No, you can have him. I'll let you have that, DR. I love you.
Spills is a chop. How about you, Shorty?
Yeah, he's probably the old luxury trade for me. I mean, he's not going to give you a crazy headache if you hold him, but like you guys have mentioned, I probably don't see him in those absolute long-term plans. So he's one that you could go, all right, if it suits my overall, we can probably get rid of him. But by the same token, he can always help you out with that overall score. Just don't see him quite in that top 6 to 8 defenders.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
And the last question we have there is, do we plan for Harry Sheasel to be a keeper? Now, given the carnage that we've been experiencing, I think the answer is pretty obvious here. Do we think he's going to be a keeper, guys?
Well, if your big call's true, mate, absolutely. Top 6 forward defender. Absolutely. No, look, why wouldn't he be? Why wouldn't he be? The only question marks, I suppose, are maybe the fact he plays for North Melbourne. He's a first-year player. But apart from that, he's looking everything like the keeper. He's outperforming some of my uber mid primos. So, yeah, in my eyes, he's certainly looking like a keeper.
Yeah. Shorty, you're envisioning him as a keeper?
Oh, look, I'll be planning for him to be one. But if I was a betting man, I would probably envision at some stage there is a bit of a drop-off, which I'm sure wouldn't be crazy. He's not going to hold that level. But like DR mentioned, young guy, I mean, I don't know whether Aaron Hall, if there's a missing persons out on him or not, but I don't see him on the team lineup. I don't see him on the injury list. I don't know where the bloke is.
He's in the VFL. He's toiling away there.
Wow. So that just shows they're prioritising his development, which is cool. But
awesome.
Now I'll be happy to ride that Sheasel away for as long as we can. I'm sure there'll be some form of drop-off, but he's at a pretty high bar at this stage, isn't he?
Absolutely.
Spills, keeper.
Yeah, I think he's definitely a keeper. I think you just ride it out until he delivers a sub 60 or something, and his cash gen's going to be deflated. I think I'm confident he can get anywhere from like 550 to 600k at this point. Let's be honest, if he can continue that form, and then the second he drops a rookie-like score, it's the easiest sideways trade of your life.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah, that's
you
it.
just
Yeah.
you just ride out until the carnage happens. But until that day happens, well, I guess we're stuck with the bloke and me and 70% of the competition. So yeah, get
I
around
guess
him, boys.
That's
That's
a
the
good point.
flexibility we got to have as coaches is that, all right, we might have not viewed him as a keep at the start of the season, but this can change our planning in that we now have more trades to work with to get to a fewer number of keepers and like fewer number of keepers to trade in. So we can use a boost to get a Clayton Oliver. So 3 trades. So normally you go the 1 up, 1 down, but you might need to go 2 down, 1 up to get a Clayton Oliver. So having Sheasel sort of facilitates that. But great discussion there, boys. I think this was a really good way to go about the Q&A, sort of hitting all the big topics. Before we go to talk about captains, I just want to talk very quickly about our trading strategy this week. So, DR, any proposed moves at all for you?
Yeah, well, I'm getting Van Ruin into the side. I think he's probably the rookie that I'm looking at. I'll need to downgrade in order to move Doherty up to anyone of any substance. So at this stage, after listening to what Shorty had to say as a Geelong man about Tommy Stewart, I'm leaning more towards that way now, chucking some funds in the bank. So I think at this stage, it's going to be Davey out. And look, I don't want to rush Davey out, but he's probably the rookie. You know, I've got a Sava, Fergus Green who's making some more cash. Baker, I think, has got a better break even than him. So Davey's just the man that's going to go this week. Get Van Ruin in using some DPP, and then Doherty up to Tommy Stewart at this stage for me, mate.
Just on that, DR, I don't reckon Davey plays this week. Just by
He was a bit sore, wasn't he?
It's a big call, but I was at the game and bloke's in 2 minds. He's not AFL ready. He's not. I don't think he's ready. Like, is he going to have a shot for goal? Is he going to give it off? I mean, look at the Dogs team. I touched on this in my review. Like, they didn't give Jamara or Darcy a go for a whole year almost. And Hawthorn, when Clarko was coaching, like, it took him, like, I think nearly a whole year to get Will Day an opportunity. So I think Davey's been given his spot on a platter. He hasn't had to earn it. And I think he's going to go back to the VFL just for a few weeks and get a bit of confidence up, make him earn it. So I'll be almost leaning toward.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think
interesting take, mate. Yeah,
I haven't seen much positives. He's a good pressure player, but that's it. A lot of clangers, nervous forward. But anyway, carry on.
Cheers for that, Spills. Well, leading on with that, what are the trades you're looking at this week?
Well, Mackenzie was going to be the one that I dropped, but I think you blokes have sort of talked me out of that. Maybe he's due for a big game. I'm not sure. I think pretty sure it was you, Janath. So I might have to hold fire on that one and give him another week. But I think it'll be maybe with you, DR. I think maybe Davey or Chester, depending on what the funds are looking like. But then a little bit of DPP, Dunkley into the midfield, get Van Ruin in. And then with that extra coin I've got, get Doherty up to Tom Stewart. I reckon that's a pretty obvious call. How many times in the season have you thought to yourself, far out, how do I get Tom Stewart in my side? Bloke's dominating. This is his break evens in the 70s. Just jump on. If not, I don't know if it's 70s or 60s, but yeah, he's coming.
Memory?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, heading into the Geelong fixtures, they're going to play a lot of games at Cardinia. So like from now on, like they're due for that. So I like Stewart, and with Dawson as well. I didn't really touch on this earlier, but like you didn't get that. I said this, I've made this point before, but you didn't get that 170 plus. Like, why chase it? I mean, you're paying top dollar for the bloke. The best thing with defenders is to just wait until they get to 570, 580k. Grab him in there. I mean, you pay 20 for a player, make sure he's a midfielder. There's just not enough value around with the rookies we got this year. I think we've got to be a bit conservative. So, yeah, no, Doherty out for Stewart for me. And, Stewart and Van Ruin, welcome to the team at the moment. Yes, Janath, I've held fire with the double ruck chop. I've thought about it, but if that paid off, far out, unbelievable. If Samson Ryan would score 80 to 90, that'd be almost the best move ever. But I don't know if it's worth the risk. But
I think there's a big
So-
if in that statement, Spills. If Samson Ryan went 40 odd, you'd have egg on your face. So it's one of those things you've got to pack your gut in. But I'm not sure trading out both your premium ruckmans in 1 week is what SuperCoach.
I know, and Rowan's coming up against the bloody black and white specky bag. Let's be honest. So
He's my big call, mate.
I keep him. Yeah, I've come to senses.
Shorty, what are you looking at this week, mate?
Yeah, I'm probably maybe slightly left field. I've sort of got my eyes set in a couple of weeks as well, sort of looking down the track. I'm sort of thinking the simple one is probably Doherty to Stewart. It's pretty straightforward. I'm thinking Davey similar down to Ryan, potentially off the back of just sussing that role. But I'm also thinking, and this is where it gets a little funky, but Setterfield, I reckon, thank you, mate. You've done us nicely. You might hit your break even, you might not. I'm thinking potentially trading down to McVee. I know that sounds a little bit crazy, but he's actually come,
wow.
yeah, it's a little sexy there, but it's come out with a 70 and an 80. And the point being is I'm not seeing too much clarity in the midfield. We haven't seen too many, like you guys mentioned before. They're not setting it on fire. Where I'm looking back and forward and I'm seeing over the next 2 or 3 weeks, Sinclair at a really nice price, Sicily at a really nice price, Canelio, really nice price. So I sort of want to have some cash in the bank to go Hopper to Canelio or to go Liam Jones or Jimby to Sinclair or Sicily. You know what I mean? So that's I'm looking at Setterfield as a real free up of cash to set me on my way over the next couple of weeks. So nothing's set in stone, but that's just what's keeping Shorty up at night at the moment.
Look into the future.
I was going to say, would you field McVeigh?
No, Phillips would be able to come on.
Okay.
Nice,
and
yeah.
I'd try to roll the dice on your old emergency loophole because I've still got Charlie Constable, so I'd try and throw a couple of cracks at the stumps. But yeah, so I think for 1 week I might be slightly exposed on a scoring front, but I'm hoping if I do go down that path that it might repay the faith over the next 2 or 3 weeks. But we'll see how we go.
I don't mind. It's a different strategy. I've just got this little visual image, Shorty, of you like little possums. You know how they get their nuts for the winter? They collect them and you're just putting those little nuts, those little acorns away, mate.
That's it, mate.
Time in a couple of weeks, right? While everyone else is starving, you've got a nice little, I can imagine a nice little fire in there. You're done. Eating away,
What an
mate.
analogy that is.
Little nest egg.
Oh, that's
Exactly
awesome.
right, mate.
I don't mind that.
Yeah,
That's
like the kid that saves all his Easter chocolate, like I love it.
Got a little Easter money.
Whereas us, we just go, It's Bills is someone at the moment who, I reckon all your Easter chocolate's gone, mate. Thinking they've traded both your rucks and everything, mate. There's no Easter bunnies left in the Spills household, is there? I don't reckon.
No, I've got very hungry, ate them all early, made myself sick, and now I've got none left while everyone saves them and they're laughing. So, yeah,
I feel like we're
strife.
talking about boosts at the moment. We're talking about the boost.
Well, Shorty, would you use a boost to get McVee in to bank some money?
I was going to say.
Yeah, I probably
interesting.
would, to be honest. Yeah,
Wow.
I probably would.
If you're going to do what I'm doing,
I'll sort of treat the boost as like, look, if I need them, let's do it. I know there'll be a time where I'm like, shit, I wish I had a boost, but we get 3 trades through the buys, and yeah, I'm happy to play aggressive.
The reason I ask is because at the moment, Mackenzie's my M9. So if I got rid of Setterfield for McVee, if you think he's a good option, I'd definitely consider it because he banked the cash. And then, well, Mackenzie's not a bad field option because, I mean, a lot of the competition would have him. So, that's food for thought. Definitely food for thought. And I like the ordering of the acorns there, DR. Might have to jump on board with the Shorties.
Well, I guess I'll bookend this segment. I was going to go with the boost as well. Will Day in, Took Miller in, Samson Ryan in for Doc, Setterfield, and Alwyn Davey, who's none of the rookies. I think we got to wait 1 more week on a lot of these rookies because they got these negative break-evens that become in the mid-30s, 40s next week, and they sort of become more choppable. But obviously, Will Day suspension throws that out of the water. Possibly then Tom Stewart, Jordan DeGoey, Samson Ryan boost.
Wow.
Or I can just hold Will Setterfield.
I love DeGoey. What a shout. Such a shout.
So,
Shorty, you had him last year, didn't you? Did you have him last year?
he makes me nervous, boys. He just, I love the way he's going about it. I don't know if I'm a little bit once bitten, twice shy kind of thing, but I mean, you can't argue with how he's playing, but he's just sends a shiver down my spine, mate.
It does. It is one of those calls where he could really be a top 8 mid, but at the same time, this could just be a flash in the pan. But I guess that's to figure out throughout this week if he's a top 8 mid or not. But to sort of finish off this podcast, let's talk about our captains, boys. So we'll go round table against DR, VC, and C. Who are you looking at this week?
So, look, I said I wouldn't use this bloke in my captaincy loophole anymore, but if I'm paying, what would I pay, 700k for Laird, then I'm going to bloody use him on a Thursday night. So, Laird the VC against Carlton on Thursday. I don't think they'll tag him. Maybe Hewitt might put some defensive pressure on him. I'm not too sure. They might do a bit of a team, have a team approach. I'm not too sure. You're the Carlton man, Janath, but I'm going Rory Laird. And look, at the moment, it's pretty hard to go past Nick Dacos, isn't it, in current form? It might be the Bont. It'll either probably be the Bont or Nick Dacos for me. I've lost faith in Dunkley. Tom Green, I don't think. Worried about his ceiling. I wouldn't go with the defender. So, yeah, for me, mate, it's led into most likely Bont or Dacos, I'd say.
Spills? Yourself, mate?
Well, I think the obvious one's led on Thursday night against Carlton. He went 140 plus on them last year, but lads, I'm thinking a little bit of a sexy VC on LDU. I don't mind it.
He's a little sexy one.
I mean, he's sexy. The bloke, he's a sexy looking man, and that is a sexy looking VC. So it's him or Laird, and then obviously I think Dacos. You got to. I mean, St Kilda will concede a lot of points in defence. They're not the most accurate team. They've been in great form, but they're not the most accurate team. Kickouts Olympics for Nick Dacos on a big open Adelaide Oval. Yeah, sign me up for that. So I'm looking for a bit of a risky VC for a safe C, I think it's fair to say. But yeah, Kenny, you boys take on that one.
Shorty?
Look, I'm probably thinking Oliver VC. And I mean, I'm going to go Ruck for me C, I think. Probably whether it's English or am I crazy going Rowan Marshall?
Wow.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm going crazy.
Back a big call. Back it in.
And look, I don't want to rain on the parade, but Ross Lyons strikes me as a bloke that just talks to someone. I don't know who it is, but some half-forward flanker and says, mate, do not let Nick Dacos have an easy run at it. You know what I mean? Ross the Boss is that sort of guy. He's that sort of guy.
He's got the cards close to his chest.
Ross is a Nick Dacos non-owner, 100%. He doesn't own Marshall and he doesn't own Dacos.
And his opponent in draft has Dacos. So he's going to be shutting that shit down.
It's unlucky. See, I think Marshall would be a good VC, wouldn't he? Because it's risky as a C in a way, but if you could flip that and have him as a VC, that would be the ultimate shorty, and I'd be right with you. I reckon, mate.
Oliver, anything 120 plus, and I'll take it from Clary. You know, I'll be pretty cautious on it, but see how we go.
I'd go Clary if I had him. That's just me.
Oh, so would I if I had him. Yeah, I just don't have him. Yeah, absolutely.
And as we sort of preach on this channel, ceiling for your VCs, floor for your Cs. So always back in the guy you want to captain, but have that fallback option that you know will consistently punch out a decent score that you're happy with, you're sufficient with. Love the Laird call, averages 125 against us in his past 3. Also love the LDU call, except it's at a ground that I don't think an AFL game's ever been played at.
No, he's a stud, mate. You'll get it done.
He is a stud. So I don't hate the call at all, and I love the Clary call. I don't own him, but I'm going Jordan Dawson against us. He's got a mid-roll now, and he's also taking kick-ins. So I think that's where I'm going, just because I saw something. Observed this myself as well, but I think there's less of a reliance now on Laird to get the 1-2s in the midfield because you've got Rochelle, Rankin, Dawson going through their better kicks than Laird. So there's no such necessity to get the ball into Laird's hands at all possible opportunities. I still think he's a top 8 mid, but I don't think, and this is probably something we sort of didn't think about much in preseason either, but he's probably lost the ceiling that he once had, even though we saw it against Richmond. Yeah. I do want to see him score well again to trust him with the captaincy or the vice captain's armband in that case.
Yeah, absolutely agree,
Yep.
mate. Definitely.
Are we all
Yeah,
happy
no,
with that?
Yeah,
Oh,
love
Well,
good, my man. Oh, good.
I guess what we can do now is wrap up the podcast. It's been brilliant having you on, Shorty. This was our round
it.
4
Thank you.
review, round 5 preview, heading into Gather Round. I personally will be there. So if anyone's up in Adelaide and you want to catch up, just DM me or tweet at me.
I'm going actually.
Um, You're going as well, Shorty. We'll catch
Yeah,
up.
I'm going.
nice.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
What,
We'll do it.
I'll talk to you. Let's talk off air. That sounds cool.
Let's talk off there. That's going to be awesome. We'll keep you boys updated. D and Swills, don't miss us too much. But I guess that wraps us up for this one. Shout out to everyone. We've got our Twitter handles on here at SuperCoach_DR, at Shorty SuperCoach, at Spills SC, and at Janet Fernando 4. Hopefully this will be available on sort of audio listening platforms as well. Spotify, fingers crossed.
We'll try.
DR, that's one for you, mate. But as
Yep,
always,
yep.
chat to your legends soon. Follow the YouTube channels, and we'll see you guys next week on hopefully
Love
Tuesday.
your work,
Again.
boys.
Go on, guys.
Cool.
Cheers,
Great
Shorty.
Bye,
chat,
lads.
Hey,
fellas.
guys.
Thanks.